That moment you realize you're the cameraman being left on the moon to film the Apollo 17 lunar liftoff. I know you like this one. This one's for you. Craters be like, I got hit by a rock from space, but it crawled out and left. We can't go through the Van Allen belt, but it was no problem in the 60s.
Yeah. Well, they hadn't been discovered yet, so you have to understand they were safer back before they were discovered.
Well, hello there, dearest viewer, and welcome back to my little corner of the YouTubies. Thank you all so much for joining me. Now, please, before we go any further, like, share, and subscribe. That would be amazing. Thank you all so much. And please, if the feeling takes you, come and join me on Patreon or become a channel member. These lovely people did. A massive shout out to Sven Balance, District Driver, Car Talker, Morris Gautreau, and Bob Sadler, Alan Earl, and Christo Bergerall. Come and join us, links in the description, and don't forget, there's a super thanks as well. Yes, hello there. I hope you're all doing fine and dandy, because, just for once, I'm fine and dandy, and it's all due to the fact that I've had my Barnet fur cut. See? I've had my hair cut. Yes, for two reasons. One, to save me a bit of cash, I don't have to go to the barbers now for another 2 months instead of 4 weeks. And for two, it makes me look rather sexy, don't you think? Anyway, so due to the shortness of my hair and my face being rather rotund, shall we say, you can now describe my head as an oblate spheroid. A little in-joke there for us globies. Anyway, so before we crack on, I've got to shout out this channel because I think it's hilarious. This channel, it's a channel called Rhino Poison. If I can remember, I'll link it in the description below, because what she does is winds up scammers like I've never seen before, and they get angry. These scammers really do get angry, and it's funny to watch. Anyway, let's crack on with the real video. And I've been checking out a channel called Back to the Covenant. Now, apparently these guys are legit idiots and legit flat earthers and legit conspiracy whack jobs. So they are checking out some flat earth memes compiled by globies who are taking the mickey out of flat earthers. If you understand what I mean. You'll know what I mean, because I'm going to roll the video right now.
So I got some funny memes that should be thought-provoking for some people, other people. I mean, if you don't have eyes to see, it doesn't matter what info is put in front of you. So speaking of a vacuum, pressure in a vacuum makes things explode. So here's a sprite on the left hand, and then I guess they turned the vacuum chamber on, and bam! And then and Mr. Bean on the bottom.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I love Mr. Bean.
Yeah, that astronaut would be swelling. I mean, his suit would swell so bad going from interior to exterior. Even if you sucked as much of the air out of his suit as you can. Action Labs, that YouTube channel, has a lot of those types of experiments where they put what's called Vac Man. It's kind of like a version of Stretch Armstrong, but you can suck all the air out of him. And then he does that, puts him in a vacuum, and still he swells up like this big. I mean, just massive. And usually they end up exploding. It's pretty cool. The science behind the vacuum, how that works.
I've got to explain this to grown men. Really? Right. Well, that's what I'm here for, so I better get on with it, haven't I? The pressure inside that can of Sprite is more than 10 times the pressure of the space suits that the astronauts are walking about in. So it's little wonder then that the can of Sprite exploded, but the spacesuit doesn't, because there's not that much pressure inside for trying to force its way out. And the pressure needs to be that low so they can have manoeuvrability. And there's enough oxygen in there for the astronauts to breathe. So, flat earth meme debunked. On with the next one. But before we do, Mr. Bean is great, isn't he?
2 reasons this is impossible. Number 1, no combustion without oxygen. Number 2, no medium to push against in the vacuum of space.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah. And I have a video of a scientist that is amazing. Like it's really cool what he does, and we'll see that in a few minutes.
What? You're not going to explain it? All right then, I'll do it for you. Yeah, rockets. Yes, they behave according to Newton's third law of motion. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. So, fuel gets pumped out of one end of a rocket, and the other end of the rocket shoots forward. It's a bit like standing on a skateboard with a medicine ball. You throw that medicine ball forward, and you move backwards. Right. Any more for me to debunk? Whoopsie, before I forget, the combustion takes place in the aptly named combustion chamber, which is located near the nozzle.
Now, this one is really funny. Space is real. How dare you question authority? Can you recognize that girl's face?
Yeah, that's awesome. That's wrong to do that to her, poor thing.
I mean, she didn't know that she was being used for propaganda. I actually haven't watched the video in a while, and I went back and watched it. And she was speaking at UN. How dare you? How dare you?
It's pretty good. She did pretty good.
It's sad how they use children like that for propaganda for their agendas. It really is.
Yes, I recognise her. She's called Greta Thunberg, and she's a climate change activist. And when she's not accusing governments and adults of stealing a childhood, she's sailing across the Atlantic, pissing into plastic buckets and drinking out of plastic bottles. Well, right, before you jump on me back and start complaining, I am not a climate change denier. I just put that in there for a bit of sarcastic comedy. You know, and you should know me by now. That's pretty much my thing. I like a bit of sarcastic comedy. So, like I said, I'm not a climate change denier. This world is very much worth saving. It is a beautiful, beautiful planet. It really is. And the way we treat it sometimes, as a race of people, the way we treat it is absolutely shocking. You can see, you know, videos of garbage and debris all over the oceans, and fish and birds, mammals getting tangled up in the garbage and the nets that have been discarded and thrown away. You know, you go outside for a walk, especially just after lockdown, you know, the amount of masks that you see on the floor, it's disgusting. It really is. And, you know, as a race of people, we should be doing that little bit extra to help clean and maintain this planet, because we've only got one planet in our lifetime. We've only got this planet, so let's take care of it, and let's do that little bit extra and look to people like Greta Thunberg as inspiration. Even if you don't want to learn everything from her, or even if you'd say, oh, she's just a kid, why should we listen to her? Just let's admire her passion, and let's look to her for inspiration, and let's look after our planet, because this is the only one we've got.
This one's funny. That moment you realize you were the cameraman being left on the moon to film the Apollo 17 lunar liftoff.
Oh, you simple simpletons. There was no cameraman on the moon, you berks. There was a small portable colour television camera attached like to a pan and tilt mechanism on the lunar rover. So that was remotely controlled by mission control on Earth, obviously, but there is a delay between radio signals between the Earth and the moon. So they had to time the ascent just right, and they had to time the remote control just right to get that ascent shot and get the lunar module in the shot itself. It took them 3 goes. 15 didn't quite work properly, 16 didn't quite work properly, but on the 3rd go on Apollo 17, they got it just about spot on.
Yeah, that was some impressive skills. Like, I've always tried to film things moving, and I have a hard time. It was the perfect pan. There was no delay. Allegedly, they're doing this from the ground, you know, 250,000 miles away.
Especially the technology they had back then. They didn't have what we have.
No, dude, we were Skyping the moon half a century ago. Like, with no delay.
My bad.
And talking to them from a landline.
Yeah, from a rotary phone.
While Skyping them.
Yeah, while Skyping them. So why can't they live stream from the moon then if they did all that then? I mean, what's up, guys?
Yeah.
Y'all slacking.
Why would they put a live stream on the moon? There's no point, and it's too costly. That you want a live stream from the moon, you're just going to simply deny it. You want a live stream from the moon just to satisfy the minds of a few dipsticks who don't believe that we went there in the first place. No, it's not going to happen. You got a 24-hour live stream from the ISS, yet no flat earthers believe it's up there. So why would they put one on the moon just for flat earthers, just to deny it? You stupid people. And for goodness sake, there wasn't a landline to the moon. It was basically a conference call. The President of the United States in America sat in his White House. He phoned bloody NASA, who then patched him through to the moon. It was a conference call, plain and simple. Anything more crap for me to debunk? Hey, you're just trying to wind me up now, aren't you?
I know you like this one. This one's for you. Craters be like, I got hit by a rock from space, but it crawled out and left. How do they explain this?
Yeah, I know. I was doing some research. I thought there would have been like a bunch of these situations where they saw something fall down from the space and hit the ground and they found it, and like it like never happens. Like they're like, oh look, there's a rock. Oh look, we found it. Space rock.
Aha, but my misinformed simpleton, there's been many meteorites hit the Earth, and many of them have survived. In fact, back in my school days, back in ancient times, I actually touched a meteorite on a school trip, even though it said please don't touch. But I thought this is going to be a once in a lifetime opportunity, because I won't have the balls to do it when I'm older. And being a bit of a rebel when I was back then, I did touch this meteorite, and it just felt like metal and rock, basically. Do you know, while we're on the subject of meteors and meteorites, the bigger the meteorite, the faster it will travel through the atmosphere, the harder it will hit the planet, and most of it will just instantly vaporize. Now, the smaller the meteor, the slower it will pass through the atmosphere, and not having as much of an impact, obviously, as a larger meteorite. So not much energy being transferred, so the better the survival chances of the meteorite itself. That's why we have loads and loads, many thousands of meteorites that are only, yay big, and some smaller. The largest meteorite that was ever found was the Hobart meteorite, which is only about 9 foot by 8 foot. Pretty dangerous, though. It'll give you an headache if it landed on you.
Like, never happens. They claim there's like 2 times where it happened. I'm like, prove it.
Let's see the video footage, guys and gals.
That's a good one.
But meteor showers, they've been filmed hundreds of times. They're predicted. You can go out and film one yourself. You can predict one yourself using maths and a telescope, etc. Just get the right equipment and you can do it for yourself. And I'm sick of these flat earthers and conspirators going, well, prove it then. Film it, why don't you? But it is filmed. It is filmed. I searched it. I've seen a meteor. I've seen 2 in my lifetime. A meteor flashed about 6 months ago. Flashed high up in the sky. It was about 10 o'clock, between 10 and 11 o'clock, and it came through and it disintegrated. I watched it disintegrate. It was a fascinating thing. Obviously, you know, meteors don't last very long in the atmosphere anyway, so I didn't have time to pull my camera out and then go there. So I couldn't film it, obviously. But this is what drives me mental about conspirators and flat earthers who say film it. So we film it for you. Oh no, I want it in HD. Right, there you go. There it is in HD. Oh no, I want it in 4K. No, there it is in 4K. Oh no, I want it in 8K. There it is in 8K. Oh no, I want a live feed now. There you go. There's a live feed. Oh no, I want something else now. I want to be there. All right then, we'll invite you to a meteor shower because we can predict when these things happen. Or I can't make it on that weekend because I'm having my nostrils plucked. You're so dishonest, and you move the goal. Flat earthers and conspirators are the strongest people I know, because those goalposts are heavy, and the amount of times they shift them is beyond belief. Rant over.
And this one's a classic too. We can't go through the Van Allen belt. But it was no problem in the 60s.
Yeah. Well, they hadn't been discovered yet, so you have to understand they were safer back before they were discovered. It makes sense if you don't think about it.
It makes sense if you don't use your brain. Yeah, we'll see that quote in a video later. Oh, man.
Yes, because of course, you fly through the strongest part of the Van Allen belts, don't you? You don't fly through the weakest point, do you? And you don't have protective shielding around your craft when you're flying through these things, do you? And the Van Allen belts were discovered more than a decade before the first moon landing. You Burke. Oh, stupid. It does burn sometimes, and it does make my teeth itch, and I'm getting angrier and angrier by the second.
Now, that's a good one, too. Things that make you go, Buzz Aldrin on Apollo 11. The stars all around are even brighter than they are here. Michael Collins on the same mission. I don't remember seeing any stars. Why can't they get their stuff together, get on the same page?
Oh, they tried faking the stars like a couple years earlier, and that's why they had to stop their first time. It was actually the Air Force. You probably got that in here too somewhere. The Air Force faking stars from space was not good.
The stupidity of some people. It drives me right up the funnel. It really does. Because Michael Collins, I'm taking a wild stab in the dark here, which is incidentally what you two are going to get if you don't start being a bit more helpful. Thanks, Blackadder. Michael Collins probably had a lot more to concentrate on than looking at some pretty stars. For instance, he's got to keep that thing in Moon's orbit, and he did keep it in Moon's orbit for about 21 hours while them two were piddling about on the surface of the Moon getting some rocks. So, kudos for Michael Collins for that one. And if you've got an enormous source of light, you're not going to see like piddling little smaller sources of light next to it, are you? You go to a football stadium at night with the floodlights on. You look up. Where's the stars? Also, in another interview on another date, perhaps, didn't Michael Collins say that on the far side of the Moon that the sky was awash with stars? And there we have it. That's the end of their video, and that's the end of mine. I'll see you very soon. Take care of yourselves and each other. Ta-ra for a bit.